Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I am using my bow and my dad's bow again, and we are getting better at aiming the things. So yeah, my original bow is basically just so that you have like a proof concept basically. But one thing that we did not do is train me with my dad's bow. I decided to go with it because I asked him, he put it together, he let me use it, and now I'm getting better, so he might get me one of those bows over the holidays, specifically Christmas, and I think that's cool. But we are going to be shooting that target today, and yes, I am wearing just long pants because it's getting chillier over here where I'm at. And, well, we're gonna do this, so let me get the bows. Okay, here we are with the bows, the arrows, and, of course, the quiver. First up, my arrow. A normal target shooting arrow. And then three of my dad's arrows. Two of my mom's arrows. Because the last arrow has its tip stuck in that target. It came off in the target. So I use two of these arrows so that they are being used instead of me using the ones where they are, without a tip on it, so it wouldn't penetrate anyways, and it's a flat part of it too. So yeah. Anyways, arrow one with my bow. If that was something a bit more squishy, like say a deer that got hit with one of my dad's pointed arrows, it would get stuck inside of the, like that. Second arrow, and I get a bullseye. Holy moly. And missed. Ooh. And now, finally, my arrow on the original bow. And I sucked at that last one. But we're going to get those arrows and shoot with my dad's bow next. But with a little bit of magic. There we go. I got the arrows back here in the quiver. I got my dad's bow. And now, let's do this. And as you can see, my dad's bow is a bit more of a traditional bow. Oh my god. Hold on. I don't think you guys saw that, but this arrow went over the target and it glides across the grass. There we go, finally. As you can see, my regular bow had a brushy thing that the arrow goes through on it, and a little hole above that where you actually use that to aim. But with my dad's bow, it's a little bit more easy. You just look down the thing of the bow, like you look down your arrow to see where you want to shoot it, and you take a bit of calculations in your brain and you line up your shots, take a deep breath, and fire. And of course, if you have one kind of bow and your friend has another kind of bow, you both can't use the same arrows. They're one bow could be like 100 grams in weight for one arrow per shot of being what it can actually hold, and the other could be like 80 grams or something like that. And if you're using a lighter arrow on your bow that usually has like 100 grams or something, you're gonna hurt the bow. And if you're using too heavy of an object, it's still gonna hurt the bow, but it's also not gonna travel far. And there we go. That's better. Also, just so you know, if you are new to this series, it's a series where I do archery, and I started out with that yellow bow that I had on screen earlier, and then I eventually got to the point where I used the other bow that you also saw on screen earlier. So yeah, and that target, it has a bunch of holes in it already, and it's designed for getting shot at by arrows, but it's not really designed to be, cut by a knife or shot by a gun itself. Basically, a boomstick. You're not supposed to use that on targets like this, but if you were to use a steel target that tilts, that would be perfectly fine for a gun. But for things like, well, bows and arrows, this is perfect for the bows and arrows. And if you do throwing knife, it will probably hit that and stick in. But I'm not going to do it because I don't want to get in trouble. Because if I do, I'm probably going to get myself hurt or break something, and I don't want that to happen. Also, I'm not in a park. I'm in my backyard, by the way. Yeah, I got a whole backyard to actually do this in, and I don't have to go to any bow and arrow archer things. I can just do it over here, even though there are places I could go to practice with other people to help me learn a bit better. I am doing pretty fine over here, just saying. But let's get those arrows out of that target so that we can continue shooting this thing. And I'm going to go back and forth with the bows so that I can use one and then switch to the other. And I just want to show you just how powerful the one that my dad uses versus what I used, because mine is not powerful at all. Okay, it is, but it's more weak because of the fact that its bowstring wobbles after a bit and then eventually stops. My dad's, it shakes faster, but it is tighter. It's heavier to pull back. Meaning, basically, the heavier you have to pull back, the stronger it's going to be. And there are a lot of different kinds of bows out there that can technically do this, but at the same time, we don't want any of the stuff breaking or anything. But these are limited to their own power, and when you have limited to their own power, like very low pulling back draw weight bow or a very high powered draw weight bow, you can get the idea basically. But with a little editing magic, just to let you guys know, me and my sister both have bows And they are both the same. They aren't the wooden ones, they're both this one's design. Basically, weak bowstring, but perfect for getting to be used to the actual thing. And my sister is left-handed, so she holds it with her right hand and then pulls the drawstring back with her other hand. Meanwhile, I am right-handed, so I put the bow in my left hand, draw with my right arm, then aim and fire. That's basically how archery works. You have either your left hand to hold it or your right hand to hold it. But if you really wanted to, you could probably do it with both hands, really. But that would take a lot of time. Luckily, I have all the time I can to learn that. And just as I run out, oh my god! It bounced off the top, flying into the air and landing quite a ways away. I'm gonna be right back and get the arrow. In case you were wondering what just happened, one of these arrows bounced off the top of the target, flying upwards and then landing like this into the ground, where it was just kind of sticking up at an angle. So, yeah, always look and aim before you shoot. And that wasn't even with the powerful bow. That was with my weaker, more basic learning bow. And now, my dad's bow. Again, I'm going to do the first one with my right hand pulling back. Pretty good. But now, let's switch it up a little. Left hand pulling back instead of the right hand. Oh my god! Next up is the other way. Almost got a bullseye. Not bad. That was terrible first shot. I am bad with aiming with my left hand being the one to pull it back. But let's see what happens if I have no arrows in the quiver and I do this. Ow! Okay, yeah, I'm going to stick to just shooting with my right hand pulling back the string instead of my left arm doing that because, ow. Yeah, that's starting to turn red. I don't think you guys can see it, but trust me, it's turning red. Like, yeah. Ow. You can kind of see it. It's turning a little red, but that's because the bowstring hit me in the arm. It does do that sometimes, but it's not anything too serious. Because when you do shoot, you have a specific position you put your arm in to avoid getting hit by the bowstring. And sometimes it can vary on if it's good or if you're doing bad. But for me today, I did bad. But to be fair, I was holding this with my right hand and I was pulling back with my left hand. Usually I hold the bow with my right hand on the string and my left hand on the actual bow. I use my fingers to pull the bowstring back before I let loose the arrow so that it can travel, destroy the target, and we get to the next thing. And I hope you guys do enjoy the view of my backyard, especially with me just walking around collecting the arrows like that. I think that's one thing that I'm not going to change, me going out and grabbing the arrows, so that you guys can continue watching and look at the backyard as I go to collect these different arrows. And for those of you who are wondering, this is my original arrow from my original bow. It's long, black, thin, has white and orange, and has a round tip on it. It's not pointy, it's rounded. And then here is my mom's arrow. Long, thin, orange with black and white, and a similar tip, and there's two of them. And then, of course, my dad's arrows. Even longer, still thin, purple, with green and white, and the shaft goes down to a point. Like, look at that. That is going to stab and go directly into whatever you're going to be shooting at. And there's 3 of them. Meaning that if you get hit by 3 of these, you're going to want to probably, like, if you get hit by any arrow, unless it's preventing you from getting into the hospital, just leave it in your body where it was when it hit. If you try to pull it out, you're going to risk bleeding out faster and going to heaven quicker, or hell, depending on what you've done or depending on what you believe in. But for me, if I were to say, just don't pull it out until you get to the hospital and let the professionals do that. But unless you have no other option, if it's preventing you from going to the hospital, then yes, you may pull it out. But that's only if you're prevented to go to the hospital because of said arrow stuck in you. But of course that also varies on where in the body you've been hit. But as we all know, headshots are one-hit KOs. Well, they're instant kills. The person does not get long to really do anything against you because, for one, you got them in the head, and that is one of the most important spots of the human body. But a lot of the times, back in ancient history, when I look at archery pictures and stuff, they show them wearing helmets to protect their noggins. And they didn't really wear a bunch of armor around them. Like, sure, they had some armor, but it wasn't like a full suit of armor. They need, if you were an archer back in the medieval times, you needed to be quick and agile and not heavy and clunky. And you don't need the armor restricting how much you move, because if you do this, or you barely pull back enough, that is a problem, because you need to pull back way more. And that is, you know, that's a lot to say, but just to say something about crossbows. If you have one, just because it has a higher draw power, if it's a shorter length, that doesn't mean it's more powerful at putting a hole in stuff. Sure, if you shoot at one of those targets, it's going to put a hole in it, but if you shoot at wood, not going to do the same. And war bows, in particular, caught my attention because they packed on the pounds of all that to draw length, and when you shoot one of those bad boys, you're putting in like a lot of force behind the arrow, which is typically just how the regular bow works. You put the arrow on the bowstring, you aim it, you pull back, which builds up the pounds behind the arrow, and once you let go, the arrow soars with all the strength from the bowstring putting a bunch of force behind the arrow, and whenever the arrow hits, it's going to be just completely put a hole into. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you shoot something with a bow that is larger and more, you know, has a longer string, you're going to get a better result at putting a hole in something. But if it's a crossbow, sorry to say, but you can't really shoot it like a gun with the same accuracy and precision. However, that's not to say that it was completely garbage, because the main thing was the people who were using the crossbows needed a lot of time. Like, they needed the people to use them in a short amount of time to teach them. With a warbow, you would take years just to learn how to pull back the drawstring without hurting yourself. But last I checked, when you do stuff with a crossbow, you crank it to pull the drawstring back, load a crossbow bolt on it, aim it, pull the trigger, and it just shoots. And then you crank it again, and then repeat the process. But nowadays, crossbows have a little thing where they can either go in half and then put the drawstring in the prime position that way, or you put it down, step onto the things, and pull back to actually reset it. Well, of course, that's only from what I've seen on the internet, and with the crossbow my dad used to have before, it was just not good anymore. But let me get the arrows. I really do hope that you guys enjoy the view that you get from looking around the backyard and stuff. A little further back because... Okay, I put it further back, so it's a new challenge. Try and hit it from very far away with the bows that we have here and the limited amount of arrows we have. While sure, the original arrow was designed for my bow, my mom's arrows work very, very similar to the original bow's arrow. However, this is made of metal, not fiberglass or anything, and it's longer. That just bounced off the top again. Yeah, I'm bad with my old bow now. But that's not to say that I am not getting better at using a bow. So let's do this, shall we? And I'm back. Now we can do one more round of shooting before the video ends. Ready? Here we go. And that's about it for today. But if you guys did enjoy, please like, subscribe, and comment down below what kind of bow would you like to see and what bow you would like me to talk about in the next video. But for now, stay safe and have a good day, my friends. See ya!